Okay. How we doing? Man, look at that. That was a good amount of work last time. Okay. How's everyone doing? It is 3 days before Christmas. As we are streaming. At least it is for those of us in the Western Hemisphere, I believe. New Zealand, Australia, Japan, places like that. I think they're already in tomorrow. So, yeah. I also apologize. I thought I got sick, like, at the end of last week because I felt something weird in the back of my throat. And then it seemed to pass, and I was like, fine. But now I've just gotten like some sniffles. Nothing too major, but like I may make some gross sounds over the course of this stream, and I apologize for doing so. Yeah, we want the filter on, but I just want to make sure that we're all good there. Excuse me. Yeah. Seems to be all right. All right. This is no shadows on, which is kind of a problem when it's sticking out beyond this wall. Yeah. I guess we can start with that. Today, just because we've been actually doing a pretty okay job with going from the internal of this building here to the external to this park area, and now to, well, I mean, because we've had this good like progression along this side of the level, I think that blocking this out, or working within the interior building C at this point would be good, just to kind of do it all over again. So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do today. Then, okay. And this is poking through the roof a little bit. So yeah, that's probably all right. I think we can just move this forward a couple. It's still intersecting with the wall, right? No, it is not. Nah, that's fine. Part of today also, I think I talked quite a bit about this problem over here, or the alleyway being here, and it like really does not need to be. You know. Well, I don't know actually. I think I wanted to get rid of this just as like a performance concern, because I feel like it's still way too much area. But maybe we don't need to worry about that yet. I think what I want to do eventually is I want to run this and test it on my old laptop that I did a couple of streams on from, right before or right after I was laid off, and sort of use that as like a low end comparison for like a performance check. I don't know. That sounds like something a smart person would do, so I think I'll do it. Yeah. Okay, so I know there's a weird way to like scale stuff. Another thing that we ran into as an issue was a slow compile time. Put an alarm. Wow. Thank you. I'm gonna see if there's an article here on the wiki about optimizing compile times. Compile a static boost library. No. Or DMAP times. Optimization options. DMAP shadow opt. Another more common switch is light carve. No frag keyword to prevent some surfaces from splitting. The screen keyword. This techniques are also referred to as brush carving. Include anything in it. Alright, well. I'm trying to figure out like why these hedge meshes in particular are taking up so much time to compile the map. I also know, and this is not going to look great, but I can probably look that up in my old map. Let me do that. There's a way to scale meshes. I thought you couldn't when I was working most of the way through my last map, but someone informed me that you could, and so I scaled down a bunch of tree meshes in order to have some trees out in 3D Skybox. So let me take a look at that. And where's that? That is right here. That is here. Yes. Okay. Whoa. Sensitive. Oh yeah. So if you didn't know, this is referred to as a 3D skybox. This entity, or I'm not sure it's that one. This? No, that's a light. This entity basically hooks up and coincides with the the player camera, and it'll basically move at some rate relative to the player movement. So this will move like 1 unit for every 16 units or 32 units that the player moves, and so that way you get like a little bit of movement and parallaxing. But this will basically just render on top of the skybox surface, which is pretty neat. So because of this, you can get like a lot of miniature stuff in here, and so this was supposed to be a map that was like taking place in a coastal area, and so you have the night sky here, and then you have like all these tiny little docks, and even a tiny little ship model. Oh yeah. I think they have a ship skybox model specifically. They have like the specific like building models as well. Made a little lighthouse out of oh, why did that get? Oh, because that's just on the world spawn itself. Yeah, they made this out of like little patches basically. They got a rotating spotlight here. It doesn't work the best because it's not really like foggy enough, but yeah. And so yeah, basically I want to put in a bunch of little trees in here. Okay, so I think these 4 are just the rotation, and I think this very last number reads in the scale. So this is like 1.5% of its original size, the meshes. I think that'll work. Let's hope so. So let's switch back over to here. And instead of doing that, I think I'm going to take one of these guys, and I am going to whoops, no. Oh. Well, that's the scale along one axis, I suppose. And that's the other axis, and this should theoretically, yes. Okay, that's good. Good. So yeah, this is not going to look the best. One of the sort of cardinal sins of working with meshes and level design is that you don't really want to scale things. And here I am doing that. But assuming that we get a perfect replacement rate, which is not going to happen here. But this is now taking up the space of 8 individual ones of these. So ideally, the hit that we took for compiling all of these hedge meshes will be cut into 1/8 of the time, which doesn't ultimately solve the problem, but it really reduces it. Yeah. So let's try that. You can really peek through and see stuff here. Maybe that's okay. Let me get. Hey, don't you remember me? I was kind of down last week, and I really enjoyed talking to you with the chat. Oh, nice. Of why are you playing this game? It doesn't have good graphics. Yeah, I getcha. Hey, Alex, how you doing? Causes problems later on with regards to programming, especially. I just edit the mesh in Blender and get a bigger version. Yeah. You know, if I were smart and I had experience, more experience getting actual meshes imported into Dark Radiant, I might go that route. Out of the 3 main skill sets of design, programming, and art is most definitely my weakest pillar. Shift. Alright. Yeah. No, I get what you mean, though. I have, it's not necessarily with, playing old games, but, like, making stuff, like, in this. A lot of people have kind of asked in the stream, you know, why the hell are you doing it here? Why aren't you just making it in, you know, Unity or Unreal or something like that? Because that's like more applicable to your portfolio. And I'm like, well, you know, A, I kind of like this stuff, and B, you know, this kind of comes ready made. And that was especially tough to, you know, talk to some of my former coworkers about. Justin Pappas is the you know, lead guy and creative director on Albino Lullaby, and you know, I'm still working with him on that. We're still friends. But he was a level designer at Other Side, and you know, I mentioned to him like I was starting this project, and he's just like, well, why the hell wouldn't you just like make a level in like Underworld Ascendant and just kind of show that to, you know, the company, and like maybe if it's like presented as already done, like we could make it as DLC. And I'm like, well, they're not going to pay me for that work. And you know, I guess I get where he was coming from, but you know, I just wanted to do this. That did great. Sick. Fever. Oh dang. Pretty curious about the Unreal thing. Especially because you can recreate the thief functionality in Unreal blueprints pretty easily. I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I am starting to get comfortable with Blueprint, but I don't know. I'm not that comfortable with it yet, so maybe that's the case. Then this over here. Right over there, basically. Yeah, which was also weird. I remember there was a programming class in my college called console programming, which ended up not being terribly useful because there were not actually any consoles for us, and so it just kind of became like a portfolio piece class, which is still nice. But basically, our professor was like, you do 3 projects of the semester that you get to choose, and one of them has to be on like non-standard hardware, like not on just like a PC. And so for that, I actually made a little. I started digging into a little System Shock level, or System Shock 2 level, and I was trying to figure out like how they did scripting and stuff. And I kept getting the question even there. It was like, why the hell are you like using this? And I actually did a small dark mod thing for that as well, for that class. I combined it with like VR or something. My third project was a VR thing in Unity. And so I think it was kind of weird that people were asking me that. And there was this other guy, Paul, who is very smart and he's a really nice guy. But he was just like, hey, I'm really fascinated with the 3DO, and I want to see if I can start making like 3DO games. And everyone was just like, yeah, okay. I kept making bullshit excuses for my projects, but I think if I had basically just gone the Paul approach, and I was just like, I like it, fuck you. Like, it would have been way easier to explain. Passion trumps it all. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I feel you, Alex. I don't know if you were here in the intro, but I basically just said, like, got some sort of sniffly mucus thingy. So I can't wait to infect everyone on the bus that I'm going to be riding on tomorrow. That's going to be great. Everyone's going to love me. Taking a bus back to New Hampshire for Christmas, and yeah, I don't know. That's my update. You still have no shadows. Yeah. I spend so much time on these hedges. Big progress. Someone's master of science thesis, but it's fun. Oh, hell yeah. some kind of game dev course at a university. I mean, it was nice to have, I guess, some time devoted in order to focus on that stuff. I mean, I kind of wish I went a little harder at the time. A little harder in terms of like putting more effort into stuff, like that AI programming course I was talking about last week. I really enjoyed it, but that was also, I had to balance other courses with it, and B, I felt like I didn't put in as much as I would have wanted to. Like, I basically just got things working, and I was just like, okay, this is fine, this is acceptable, and I got like a B in the class or something like that. And then I don't know. I still have that on my website, I think, as a portfolio piece. Those AI demos that I got out of that class, and now I look back and I'm like, man, these things just don't look great. You know, the level design courses, I mean, I had some pretty obvious faults with those, but I feel like, I don't know, I still put in like a respectable amount of effort into that. Get a little variation here. Actually, let's snap that up a bit. And actually, we should probably move this out a little more. So we're actually using a lot of the space next to the path, and hopefully we can give the fountain here a little more breathing room. Actually, for that matter, I think I want to pull this out a bit. So maybe we could get the players circulating around in there, or maybe they could possibly use this as like a hiding spot. What was the AI piece about? Well, I mean, like on my portfolio site, I just had 3 demos of like projects that I completed during that course. So one of them was, I think it was the first thing we did, which was like flocking. And the second one I think was just like basic pathfinding, if I recall it correctly. And then the last one was actually a collaborative project where we implemented state machines. And that one we actually did. It's like the we basically recreated like a very basic version of Pac-Man. So we had that project was supposed to have what was it? An enemy AI as well as a player character that the player could actually control, or if there was a hotkey assigned, that they could switch from manual to like AI controlled. So we basically just made like one type of ghost. I know there's like in the actual Pac-Man there's variations in the ghost behavior, but we did, and I know Alex knows that because of his very good video on Pac-Man. But we just didn't have time for that, so we just made a ghost, and then we made the player AI, and then we just made it so that the player could like swap between like manual and automatic control. A-star pathfinding? Yeah, I think the demo was A-star specifically. Yep. Okay, that's most of them. To implement A-star for LGO. It's a lot of boilerplate code. Oh, yes. Yeah, my final was on GOP actually, but that ended up not being good. That was a hectic finals week, and I left that one to the last minute. And I really wish I could have done that justice. What do I mean not good? What was it? I got way too ambitious with it way too early. This was one of the dumbest decisions I made. I basically wanted to, like, because everyone was using Unity and Unreal in college, and I think that's kind of what, yeah, if I recall, that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to just keep using a bunch of different tools. Just to be like, hey guys, we can like, learn stuff outside of this. And, I thought that me knowing, Hammer or Source Engine, as well as, like IdTech 4 would like help my job prospects. And look where I am now. So with that, when I started, I was following the example in the textbook for that class, which was written in pseudocode, and I was implementing it in Source Engine as C++ code, and I had zero prior experience coding in Source Engine. And for some reason, when I hit compile and everything, gee, things didn't work for some reason. I wonder why. um, so basically, I had to do that over and start again, and I was just too cocky. I would love to go back and learn how to, because I've done scripting in C sharp. For Unity, I have used Unreal Blueprints, but I haven't, and I've written C++ code, but I've not written like C++ code in a game engine. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's just one of those things I want to eventually get competent at. Just because I want to feel like I am capable of doing this sort of thing. So yeah, the way that final was structured, it was like we were supposed to take a particular AI concept that was not covered in the class prior and basically just do a research presentation and then make a small like demo of it working. And I was really bad at that. I was bad at the demo part. I felt pretty confident in it came out okay. But basically, a couple of other guys also chose Gope, including Paul. But both of them had basically found like a Unity project or something like that, and that already basically had it set up, and it was just sort of like, oh well, I should try, taking that project and like fitting it into like an old game that I had made, like one of my student projects, and that's basically what I did. And it did not look. It was also an issue of like it didn't convey what it was doing particularly well. Show. Yes. It's funny, every time you say fuck, I have to approve the comment. Not that I mind, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know how I would change that setting on YouTube or something like that. Yeah. Code makes NPCs create their own decisions from a list of actions they have available. So that's so cool. Seems like a natural extension over Sims. Yeah. Even for the same language. Yes. Yeah. Pretty much. Alright, so I think I replaced everything I can replace in here. So hopefully this will drastically cut down on compile times. So let's give that a swing. Oh, it optimizes Gope. That's remarkable. Yeah, definitely. Oh, another thing, which was a quirk of my. Oh wow, that compiled really fast, so it seems like it did work. Let's see how ridiculous these things look. Yeah, that was another thing. A quirk of my education was that I was a game design major and I was minoring in game programming. And so I was taking my AI programming course senior year. Yeah. Sure. taking my AI programming course senior year with a bunch of like a couple of other senior level designers who were going for the minor, but also some mostly it was like programmers who were like a year below me. That is a very strange rendering error. I mean, other than this weird shit, I don't know what's going on there. Truth be told, it doesn't... Like, the hedges don't look bad this large. They don't look terrible. Although I truly don't know why this is happening. Yeah, so because of that, most people who had already entered the AI programming course had taken a class called Data Structures, which was a more general computer science class that was all about, the different structures in which you store, data, like arrays, containers, and one of those was, hash tables. And in terms of getting the various world states that the GOPE algorithm is trying to find to be the most optimal. My book recommended that, like, oh, you should just store all these different world states in a hash table. And I was just like, what the hell is a hash table? Because I had not taken a course telling me, like, what that was and explaining the concept. So, yeah. And so to write that in, like, C++ with zero idea what it's doing, that was kind of a big issue. And I think I just skipped it initially because I was just like, I could probably work around this. And it's like, no, you can't. Whereas with the Unity built-in, or the Unity project, like Unity has a built-in hash algorithm that you can just pass stuff to. And it's like, oh, this is great. Whoops. There we are. What book? Oh, I have it right here. Artificial Intelligence for Games by Millington and Funge, I want to say. Let me pull this up for you. Artificial Intelligence for Games. Yeah, it's this one. It's this book. It's really good. It's kind of expensive, but if you can find a PDF, then go for it. Oh, nice. I should unfilter that. All right. And then refilter. Yeah, so things feel alright here. There's a rendering error. I'm not too concerned about that at this stage. I know I say that a lot. um, so yeah, I think the other thing we gotta look at here is just, does this space continue to make sense? Or does the internal space of this building still make sense, given its new relative location to everything else? We added that back entrance because otherwise this whole segment of the building would have no purpose. So that feels pretty good. Let me I want to figure out if I can jump on top of this. Well, actually, I should unfilter. Yes, there's player clip here. That's good. Yes. So I was gonna I ended up creating my own class diagrams on how to implement it. Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. The yeah, I bet that book has pseudocode for Gope, like I was saying, and it is very interesting the way it pieces things together. Like it's basically taking several concepts and like trying to combine them into something new, which is pretty cool. I actually got into it because I think summer 2015, which is the summer before my senior year, Noah Gervais put out that video on fear, and in the beginning he talked about, he got the name wrong. He referred to it as strips, which is the like Stanford research planning something or other. But yeah, I started looking into that, and that led me to, oh, okay, they can get up on top of here. That's not good. But yeah, looking into that because I was just like, I want to make Alien Isolation for my senior game, and obviously that never happened. But I was pretty convinced that the Alien ran on Gope, and so basically I wanted to have our programmer make something with Gope. And I was both wrong about the Alien, and also that never ended up happening. So I don't know. Do I want the player to be able to get on top of here? Is that okay? Or I don't know. maybe not so effortlessly, but yeah, you know, yeah. Maybe if I have this kind of move down a little further, like I kind of have this recessed a little farther down, so that it's not as easy or even possible for the player to do this without, moving a crate or something like that. That might be okay. Yes, I know that now. I know about yeah, through the AI and games video. Actually, I know that they use behavior trees now. Oh, discontentment variable. What's that? Oh, you mean like the difference between its ideal state and where it wants to, or where it is now. I don't know if we're gonna have this move. We're gonna have this area move downward. If I were to like cut it off here and have it move downward past there, I'm not sure that this little platform area has much use. So I might just take this whole thing and just push it down, and then just have this be like the incline there. Hmm. Goes up when things don't go as they planned. Oh. Yeah, that sounds like what I was getting at. Maybe not exactly, but. Yeah, so what difference is there here? Oh, it's like 16 units. That's still one thing, right? Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. I could probably just get rid of this. Or not. Beautiful. Yeah, that's flush. That's good. In my streaming sessions, I probably use the word flush more than I ever have in any other context. Just to have like a handy word to be like, these faces line up with each other exactly. All right, so first off, oh, these didn't get made into a func static. Well, glad I found that out now. Eat. Not sure why I added that. I just need to eat. What do I do on weekdays? Drink and cry. No. I've not been terribly focused on like my more formal videos. As of right now, oh boy, we're gonna get into it. I've been searching for a job for 6 months now, and nothing's come up, and I don't have any interview processes that I am in the middle of right now. And oh dear, glad we caught that. Oh, and there's a street light. Oh, Jesus. All this crap I left in here. Oh, and yeah, that's going to result in a leak. So, yeah, I've been applying to a few places every week, and nothing has still come up. So, did I? Yeah, I think that's right. But basically, a couple nights ago, I went to the grocery store to pick up some more coffee, and I did not have enough money on my debit card to buy it, and I was like, oh god, it's happening. So I hit $0.00 in my account, and now I'm the past couple weeks I've just been like, okay, I need to apply to something around here, like working at a restaurant or something, in order to just pay the bills more immediately. And then hopefully I can devote some time still to looking for a job, but I am now basically at the end of my funds. No, I not basically, I am. Which is not fun to go through. I'm also dreading. Thank you. Yeah, I'm dreading going back to my parents because. What's it? Because I know we're gonna have to talk about this stuff. I mean, I reached out to some of my former coworkers actually, and I managed to get some money. That is not the direction I want that to go in. So I have enough to pay rent for next month. Thankfully, because they were, so generous in helping me. But yeah, I've got a brewery job that's, my friend used to work at this brewery that's, like 10 minutes from my place, and he got me in touch with people there, and we're trying to schedule an interview, so hopefully that happens pretty soon. And I can just get on with my goddamn life. So yeah, I was debating maybe diverting from my prior plan and making a video about like going over my job applications. And basically saying like, okay, statistically this is like, we can figure out things about the hiring process in the game industry by looking at my experience, and also this sucks and it should not be run this way. Maybe that'll be I don't know. Oh, really? Uh, God, that's got to be rough. Yeah. So yeah, it's also tough because I've, you know, started making friends in the area, and I think I've talked about this before, but when you're applying to a bunch of these places, and one of these studios in like Seattle says like, "Hey, we want to give you a design test, and you have like a week to turn this in," and then you turn it in, and you get your hopes up, and you're just like, "Well, why would I commit to doing anything where I am, when I could, have to commit and move across the country if this job offer goes through?" And then it's been just 6 months of that, and 6 months later, I'm still here, and I haven't really committed to much of anything in terms of my social life, and you know, it's tough. I because it's weird. Like, you don't have like an immediate future. Like, I don't know where the hell I'm gonna be in 2 months. Um, just because there's no financial stability, right? I'm basically just living like month to month, and I'm just like, okay, this month I gotta figure something out. Um, They do use what you create in design test. There's just no guarantee that you'll get to work on it. Oh, you mean in terms of like they take your design work? Because like I know that's a problem with like art tests. Um, but for design tests, I hadn't heard that. And of course, as should be stated, anyone who uses art tests in order like to solicit free assets, basically from people that they don't intend to hire, are scum. Like, that was a big thing with the Hat in Time guy, if I recall. Yeah, they passed it around during brainstorming. So, Jesus Christ. Hmm. I hadn't heard about that for design tests, and I'm hoping that's not prevalent. More common than you thought. Hmm. Yeah, I should stop finagling with this. Oh, there's a gap here. Whoops. There's a gap in the door. The only me is me. Sorry. Oh, really? Jeez. not that I can talk about the contents of the last test I took, which was for Sucker Punch. Um, but the context in which they presented what they wanted me to design um, basically signified to me that it was just like impossible for them to use, or not impossible, but it's they weren't going to. I found out from another friend that they morphed it significantly and used it. God, that sucks. I just want to hide this whole thing for now. Almost as good as a Dishonored 2 level. Wow. This wasn't for Arcane, was it? Only professional working game dev. Third rate indie studio in India. Yeah. Oh, in India. I wanna word this delicately, but do you think that this is like a regional problem? There very may well be cases in countries closer to me that do that. I'd be very disheartened. Don't know, but I like to think so. Yeah. Whoa, what was that? Oh. This is very bizarre. If you hold down an arrow key and then you right click to turn off fly cam. Oh, wow. Excuse me. Yeah. No, definitely. I very much agree. Okay, so stop getting distracted. I say to myself. And let's actually dig in and try to figure out if there's anything here I want to change. Oh, right. Well, I think first off, Sean brought something up that had been in the back of my mind. Which is that this apparatus right here, this is the thingy we scripted and got set up to basically stop the canal as a whole. And so if there's like a specific spot that the player wanted to stop the ship at, they would be able to. However, from this, position against this very opaque wall, there is zero way for the player to see the ship actually go through. And so we need to reposition this somehow so that the player will be able to either like turn the camera and view it and see what's going on, or we get rid of this and maybe replace it. There was like another idea of having these sort of individual towers associated with each of these locks, and having the player like climb up into them and locking them or jamming them or something. And I'm thinking the simplest solution for right now is because this kind of dovetails with this issue of the player being able to climb up on this roof, and I don't want them to necessarily be able to get over here into like restricted areas. But I think that the way to combine these solutions basically is I want to see if we can get like a balcony up here or a second floor area up here surrounding the sort of upper parts of this machinery, and then from up here we can have like bay windows looking out. And oh dear, that is a leak and a half. My God. Yeah, so if we raise this up, and add windows up here, and then we'll have the gears up on the second floor, like next to one of these windows, so the player can always like peek out, make sure that the ship is where they want it to be, and then from there they can jam it fairly precisely. I think that would be good. So yeah, that sounds like a good revision to commit to. Question is how we're gonna fit it in here. I mean, first off, we're gonna raise this roof. I don't know how many units. Let's. That's not the button I wanted. 32, 64. Why bank and not life of the party for your Thief 2 video? Very good question. Life of the party was the one where you're breaking into the sheriff's office, right? Like it's the map like right after, if I recall. Like I don't know. I think the bank was just so interesting and basic, in terms of like the setup. That I felt it appropriate. Yeah, I don't know. I think there are. It's certainly not one of the missions that like jumps out to people when they're thinking back on Thief 2, and I think, you know, maybe it would have been better if I had chosen one of those. Couple missions after Sheriff's House. Life of the Party. Is that the... No, that's casing the joint, right? Yeah, I might be thinking of a different one. The party mission. Yeah, so it's like you do casing the joint, and then you return to that house for the next mission, right? Like you basically do it over. Yeah, because that's like one of the final ones, right? If I recall. If I recall correctly. And ooh, look at all this. Hey, there's space here. And already, I think this building has like a much stronger like silhouette. I don't even know how to describe it, but from the outside, it looks like way more interesting and distinct instead of just kind of blobby, like a bunch of shapes just kind of farted together. Sheriff is dead, and you gotta trail the courier into a portal and whatnot. Ah, man. I don't like this being so high up, or like it coming up to be this high. Maybe I should just split it the way I do this roof anyways. Split this in half the way I do this roof, but it's just kind of lower. Yeah, that seems fair. Like that, the War Zone mission and Splinter Cell. Oh. Prison and Deus Ex Mankind Divided. I didn't get that far in Mankind Divided. I should really get back to that. That's been on my to play list for quite some time. 2, 3, 4, 5. Because, I think Human Revolution was like my first immersive sim, if you want to call it that. This is 48 units tall, so. There we go. Yeah, this seems appropriate. For a height, I mean. Prison was the second DLC. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's... Okay, good. That wasn't like a spoiler or anything. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. The missing link was interesting. That was the Human Revolution DLC. I'm not sure how it holds up design-wise now. Yeah, and I think let me make Human Revolution. I think is one of those games that I would want to eventually get around to making a video on. I mean, the original Deus Ex as well. Yeah. Person versus Sun was probably System Shock if I didn't learn the word. I just cut version of Human Revolution and put it together. Yeah. Yeah, I remember having that. I remember buying that for my PS3 copy, actually. Which was not the director's cut version. But I ended up buying director's cut on PC anyway, so yeah, I should replay Human Revolution. Justin, one of his big complaints about Human Revolution, he's just like, either everything is a concrete bunker or it's an office building. And I was just like, oh god, he's right. um, so the DLC made you lose some upgrades because Jensen gets captured and they stay lost. Most people ended up using cheats to get their upgrades back. Oh, jeez. I don't like that Z fighting. Oh, God. Oh, you know what I could do? Just move that back. Well, I should... oh, whoops. That wasn't the side I wanted to... No? There we are. That's probably the best way of going about this. Yeah, from what I had played of Mankind Divided, it seemed very interesting that it was a immersive sim that seemed to then ask the question, okay, well, if you have this giant, system-driven sim and response thing, why would you give the player like everything off the bat, or like why would you provide a path for the player to basically just get everything? They had those interesting volatile upgrades, if I recall, where basically if you purchased an upgrade or an illicit upgrade in Adam Jensen's augments, then you would have to basically permanently cut off another upgrade. And that seemed to be very interesting, and it seemed to be asking a very interesting question of like, well, what if you like force the player into a place that's restricted? And I remember one of the few open world or one of the few hub world missions that I did there in Mankind Divided was what's it? There's a it's kind of goofy, but there's like this underground cult. You go in there and you basically can't. When you're in there, the quote unquote brainwashing of this guy, of the cult leader, makes it so that you can't engage in violent behavior. And so basically you're supposed to figure a way to get rid of him and like incapacitate him without like drawing a weapon or engaging in violence. And that seemed to also reinforce the idea of like, we're going to purposefully cut the player off from like this entire like branch of strategies. And I think that's a very interesting way to go about it. Fix it, man. Kind of added lack of variety. One of my professors in Montreal, actually, he was working at IDOS, and we were there when Mankind Divided got announced. So it was very interesting to talk with him about his experience of going through that and like working on the game and having the press report on it and the press leaking some of that stuff. Yeah. And because of that, we actually got in for a playtest for Mankind Divided when it was like in alpha, which is pretty cool. And that was like right after it had gotten announced. I didn't have a great time with it because it was running very choppily at that point. But yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. I want to close this off and just get rid of all this alleyway. But I think it might be interesting and cool to leave a secret area here, and maybe there's like a ladder for the player to get back up. Like we could pull this out and have the edge of the building like right here or something, right? And then this little area will be like some, I don't know, back alley thingy. As for the internal here, again, I want this catwalk or this balcony to like wrap around here at about this height, but I don't know where. I don't know where we're gonna put. The stairs up and down, basically. And B, I don't know if there's like any other stuff that we'd want to add there to make it feel a little more reasonable or grounded, And for that matter, now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm shooting off and, if we just move all this stuff up here, basically, and I will do that now. If we move that stuff up here, how the hell is the player supposed to see that and know where that is? Like, I don't know. Assuming that there's a because the player can enter this room basically either from here going in, and in that case they could potentially see this, but this wall is now in the way. Or they could come in from here basically, and they're not going to see this wrapped around the other side of the wall. Oh boy. God dang it. I don't know what to do. We're about halfway through, so let me use the restroom. I'll be right back while I think about this. get some water. So, your voice talents to the game of the year has. I had no idea that was happening until I was checking over the edited file Nico sent me. Oh, no problem. Hang on, let me get some water. Hell yeah, yeah. Nico just like hit me up. I think just a couple of days ago, and he's just like, I just need you to do this. It's too bad I didn't get that far in the game of the year cast yet. Actually, if you look at my second monitor over here, I still have the tab open. I am 2 hours and 8 minutes in. So yeah. I was very happy. I love Nico's weird ass performance art stuff. mm. Okay, so I'm thinking. I think I wanted to specify the particular angle of the moonlight that was going to come in. Got so many people in. The level looks fucking nuts. Why, thank you. It has progressed a long way from the box. Yeah, so if I remember, let me pull this up. Level streaming, layout building A. Yeah, so I basically said moonlight is at 150 degrees clockwise from north, which seems to be such an artsy fartsy artisanal thing to specify. That sounds like something you read on like a 5-star restaurant menu about the fucking fiddlehead greens or something. But yeah, so if we punch some windows into this, that could potentially be used to, specify the angle at which we can position these relative to a window, so that we can at least attract some attention to it. Come to think of it, this is like a back entrance area, and so. But this is ostensibly a thief level, so it's like, I don't know. Is the player more likely to come through here, or are they more likely to come through the entrance over here? These are the dumb things I have to agonize over. I don't know. I guess the intent is that, like, well, A, I want this to be replayable. And B, I think the intent with this level would be that the player the first time would just, like, sprint onto the ship somehow, get on there, get the thing, get off. Whereas the second time around, they might start poking around more at secrets. And then maybe that's when they start using this. Or maybe it's the opposite thing that I want. Like, I want the player to be able to, like, go here and shut things down and make it easier. And then, like, recurring playthroughs are like the challenge run, quote unquote, where it's like, oh, I don't stop the ship at all. I just jump on, get the thing, get off. God, what in the world? Never forget the box. Oh, hey, I was shooting this idea around earlier, Hamish, if you're still there. But as part of my employment search, in order to request unemployment, I had to keep a track of a spreadsheet of like places I applied to, and through that you can kind of get a sense of like how many places I've applied to, how many positions, the time difference between steps in an interview process. And I was thinking of making like making a video that's like less intensive, maybe, in order to talk about like this is the experience of going through like trying to get hired in the game industry, and why it sucks, and why it is that it sucks in this particular way. And I don't know, me being a sad sack about like literally having no money. What other genre do you specifically enjoy? Beyond immersive sims, I don't think I have a particular genre affinity. I don't know, I just like the games I like. I think broadly more stealth stuff. One of the earlier games I had as a kid was Sly Cooper. Or Sly 2 and Sly 3 specifically. And I really like those. And those are just, more like, they're more analogous to like 3D platformers with some stealth stuff. During the PS3 era, I was also a huge fan of the Ratchet and Clank series. Oh, that's not great. That wouldn't be good. I have to block all that off. God. I mean, I would say I like strategy games, but really I only have experience with, Civ. Mostly just Civ. The new Divinity games. I've played a bit of Original Sin 2, and it seems really neat. I've never, like, been able to commit a ton of time to it. And now looking at Disco Elysium, that seems to be a very similar thing, where it's like a simulated tabletop-esque thing. And Disco Elysium is one I've been hearing a lot of good things about. So hopefully someday. I've also been meaning to play Planescape Torment, mostly off of like Noah's video. Um, yep. Yeah, so I've heard. Tries too hard to recreate tabletop. Oh, really? Yeah, I could probably see that. How's this then? If we go to the lit preview, approaches things accordingly. Yeah. Well, first off, it does not help that that's completely dark up there. So, I'll just hide that. So if I move that in, yeah, that's gonna be not great. I think instead of having these weird ass walls here, making this feel like a separate area, we could probably have a big, like, walkway or not landing scaffolding thing here. Because I was thinking of doing that anyways to maybe actually use this interior space. Oh, that's the opposite of what I want. Right here, here, and make that like Divinity Original Sin games take on how to do PC RPG. Yeah. I forget. Is there some sort of there's gonna be some texture here that's like metal grating, but you could actually it's got like transparency, so you could actually see through. Maybe that wouldn't be the best idea, but oh god. Oh. Let's shrink this by 48, let's say. Ah, whoops. What did I do for? Oh, jeez. I actually had a model here, right? Oh, Shift H, right? Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's. Oh, whoops. I hit undo because I thought it would unhide that metal ladder volume, and it didn't. So I was like, okay, what did it actually undo? And it appears that it was this. Um, um, create model, architecture, ladders. There we go. I forget how many that one was. I think that was 8, so let's go 16. Yeah, 16 is just about good. That's good. This one is. Yeah, 8 steps. I was right. Ha. Why won't it let me delete it? Okay. Yeah, that's good. With you removed. Hmm. All right, nice, nice. So one thing I'm also wary of, although, I don't think guards would be able to climb ladders. I don't think, yeah, I don't think guards can climb ladders in the dark mod. One thing I'm wary of is if we're going to extend this walkway out and have this, semi-circular thing going on. We basically only have one way in and out of this space up here. Yeah, and that kind of feels like a dead end. I mean, the player could like jump over the side theoretically, but that would not be a good idea. So I want to provide the player with at least like another way of getting down, and I got to figure out where we're gonna fit that in. Maybe it's just another ladder right over here, um, because one distinct possibility that could happen is the player angers a bunch of guards. They're chasing the player. The player climbs up the ladder. The guards can't climb the ladder, but they're waiting around for the player to come back down, basically. Have I played classics like The Last of Us or the new God of War? I have not, actually. Yeah. I actually wrote an article recently that I is still getting looked over by one of my friends for editing. And it has to do with the hiring process in games, actually. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. But, I actually had an interview for an internship at Sony Santa Monica. And I didn't know that they were working on a new God of War. And, like no one did at the time, because it was still a secret. But, they were interviewing people, and then they very suggestively said to me during the interview, it's like, so, you know what we make, right? And I'm like, yeah, you made God of War. And they're like, so have you played God of War? And I'm like, no. And then they're like, okay, well, have you played anything like that, like Uncharted or Tomb Raider? And I'm like, no. They're like, oh. So, clearly I didn't get that position. And then, like, a couple months later was the E3 where they announced the new God of War. But basically, they were interviewing me for an internship for, like, they said it was like scripting. It was like scripting audio events on, like, enemies, basically. So I would have had to figure out the logic of, like, when sound effects would have played, and it's like, I don't think I need to have played God of War in order to know how to script a goddamn oh, that's a scaling thing, huh? I know there's a way to nudge this by holding some sort of hotkey, right? So yeah, I don't know. And I've resented God of War ever since. No, but oh, it really does form a weird lip like that. That ain't great. Oh, that's why. I guess that makes sense. Eh, okay. Okay, good. Those two line up now. Da, da. Right. This also looks pretty narrow for a walkway around here, so I don't know. I think I might widen these. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a lot better. Whoops. Not quite that much. Maybe having another platform like right over here that kind of flares out here. That'd be kind of neat, right? And then we could have the ladder basically come down here. I think I should figure out the windows here first, actually. Textures. Gotta find an actual transparent glass. Clear warp. Yellow warp. Okay. Easy warp, milky. Yeah, something dirty would probably be good, given the setting. Whoops. What does... There's our lighting preview, everyone. Oh. Yeah, I haven't even looked at these. This is like flat shaded, right? Yeah. Start render time. Stop render time. Textures. Yeah. Oh, interesting. This brings up some interesting questions. As for rendering. Alright. Well, first off, I think I want to get this to be func static, and then I think I want to put a viz portal here, like basically at this elevation. interests than game design. Do I have any interests? Jesus. I had homebrewing going on for a while. I There was that weird ass homebrew joke that I added at the end of that System Shock video. That was just because I literally had made my own beer, and since then I haven't. Well, I completely forgot that I wanted to make that into a running joke, which honestly I probably shouldn't have anyways. But then, what's it? I don't even know if this is gonna work. This is insane. Yeah, but then also, I've only made a couple of batches since then, which is interesting because I friend for that brewery job, I'd just be working the door, but apparently there's a real chance for me to actually like brew beer, so I could just do it as my day job within the foreseeable future. The thing about that, it's kind of an expensive hobby, but if you just only drink the beer that you make, you're gonna save money in the long run, because if you buy the same amount of beer like out of a store, it's gonna be more expensive. But also to just have that much beer lying around, it's not the healthiest habit either, and so I think that's kind of why I pump the brakes on that. Gosh, lost so many interests over the years because game dev. Yeah. Let's try this out. And more recently, more out of necessity, I guess, I've been looking into not necessity, but like, oh great, gotta figure out what this leak is. More and more I've been thinking about like political volunteering stuff, or political advocacy stuff. That is, oh god, that is so slight. That's the tiniest ass leak I've ever experienced. Man. Can I just like have this overlap slightly in here? Yeah, it's not poking through. That seems good. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good. Interesting. Alright, let's try this again. Gosh, what else? I don't really have money to have hobbies. You know? I mean, every now and again I've picked up a like a skill, or not a skill, but like trying to teach myself like a concept in like more general programming every now and again, just because it's interesting. A little while ago, or a couple years ago actually, when I was last searching for a job, I looked at oh my god, what a garish texture. It also makes it look like it's illuminated from the inside, which is not the case.
Is that something over there?
No, it's not. Yeah, like a couple years ago, I just got curious and I started figuring out and teaching not figuring out, but I found a YouTube playlist of a guy who was teaching how to program in assembly language. I was just like, ah, man, that seems really cool. So I just kind of did that. I followed along. 2D level design experience, I don't really. Man, 2D level design. My former coworker and friend of the show, Matt Davey, our show portals one. He said that Unity's 2D stuff. Oh, that does work. Great.
I'll piss where I want to piss.
He says that Unity's 2D stuff really works well. Other than that, I'm thinking like, I don't know. There's this jank ass thing that we started our level design course in, which was Stencil, but I would not recommend that at all. I don't have experience with Game Maker either, but you know, I've heard it's pretty good and you know, user friendly. Latest video Unity, huh? Okay, no, this portal does work exactly the way I want it to. I'm kind of surprised by that, but that's great. Hell yeah. Now, if we don't have this ugly ass glass texture and we actually swap it out for something that makes sense, that'd be good.
I drink horse piss before I drink that again.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a nice vibe here of like how the final space is going to end up, and I'm really happy about that. Yeah. I guess it also depends on like what context for 2D level design you're thinking. Because when you said that, I guess my brain immediately went to like 2D platformer, whereas, you know, knowing you, you're probably more about like top down, like roguelikes and things like that. So two very different contexts. clear warp. And select these three. Have clear warp. Apply instead. The texture was also stretched a ton. So yes. No, that's the normal scale apparently. Not that I think that that's the best way to go about it, but let's hide this. Good luck with the rest of the stream. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, we've only got like half an hour left, so we're in the home stretch. Cycle through one of these. It's over here. Oy, excuse me. Yeah, I'm not really sure this has a reason to exist. So yeah, I think I'll just commit to having a ladder up here. Oh wait, that was it. All right. We wanted to give this what, 48 units or something. So let's do 64 there. And 1, 2, 3. Let's bring that in for 16 unit thingy. And then bring this over. Rotate that 90 degrees. 90. Oh, and then this needs to move down a little more because we don't have the elevation there. That makes sense. Stretches upwards. Now we're good. Okay. Hmm. So I guess first, I want some better way of framing this. I think depending on the angle, like a corner support here might obscure it. Hmm. I think that's a risk I'm just gonna have to go with. Rivet steel, I guess. Although it's not going to be on the corner necessarily because the corner sticks out over the mesh here. I think 8 units is probably fine. Or maybe just that. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. And of course we want, come on, have to be funk static. Yeah, so the player walks in here. Boom. Now that I think about it, I have no idea why these lights are back here. We could possibly, yeah, I think we could justify having either these moved up there or probably just add more. I'm going to add more in this case, just to be safe in case we want to keep these. Come on. 90. All right. Yeah, something like this. Pop that out. Yeah. this will be good because it'll double as a way to highlight the ladder. Suddenly very dark in real life. All right, so is being called out enough? I think I'll just have this in the middle, honestly, and then I will have it not cast shadows. Oh, good, it's already on no shadows. The outside corner, poking out, that's probably fine. I'm just playing around, but this is interesting that I can be in resize mode and actually shift the texture. No, it's not doing it anymore now. Great. Make me look like a liar. God, what was the thing that we just did? the thing that we did for the tanks over there, I thought there was a way to make this into a there was a way to take something and like make it into a cylinder of like the same sort of dimensions. Edit. There's prism. Oh, maybe that's it. And I think I need to. Yep. I need to change the camera angle so it's top down before I do that. Brush, prism. Yeah, like that. Except let's crank that up to like 16. We definitely do not want this cutting up our viz tree, so func static, and I don't know if there's like a texture for like a metal pipe that's very similar to this, but let's take a look. Machine. Flat. Brushed steel. Iron. Simple gray. Steel gray blotch. Steel smooth. That might work. That's a bit too light. That's still too light. That'll have to do for now, I guess, but I'm gonna have to start thinking about like decorations of a bunch of pipes and things like that. I think because of that they can look fairly arbitrary, and so I could probably like sculpt them to be like any configuration. Hopefully. I got a bit sidetracked on this one, but yeah. I think this is a weird ass room, but I still think it's working. I don't know. I think that's alright for now. Well, I do think this is an improvement. I'm not sure we're all the way where we need to be in regards to changing the layout here. Yeah, I think I'm kind of spent. So maybe I'll just end it here. A bit early, not too early, fortunately. Yeah. So, hope everyone has a good Christmas if you celebrate it. Did Hanukkah start already? I think it might have. So yeah, if you celebrate other holidays, of course, happy holidays to you. And I think I'll see you guys next week. I should be able to do that. Should be able to do next week. Yeah, alright. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.